right. So in our last class, we explored some key concepts, right, in Kong.
Yeah.
And there are around five key concepts, that is services, routes, upstream, plugins, and then consumer goods. We have covered these two, services and routes. So let's do one
Uh,
thing. We'll quickly do a overview.
just a minute, I'm getting a call, official call only. Just 2 minutes, I'll be back.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So while Archana is in the
No,
call,
yes, Manoranjan, I'm here.
oh,
Archana here.
Nishita is in the call. Is it?
Shita called the call. Yeah.
Okay. So Archana, we'll wait for a minute, or just wanted to check if you want to uh, uh, tell about any questions which you might have.
Yes, Manoranjan. So we were going through the services, routes, and other things. So when so in the route, there is a parameter called the host.
Mhm.
Uh, right. So there you have told me, you have replied, but still I was just wondering, like, so basically,
Sure, wildcard
definitely
host and all.
consumer. Yeah, if the consumer is calling, definitely it will go through the Kong host name, right? But why we are mentioning it here explicitly? Because in our examples, like in our Kong gateway, we have both scenarios where there are no host mentioned and there are host mentioned.
Mhm.
There is a host mentioned route also there, but in few routes there is no host mentioned.
Oh,
So what
so,
is the,
uh,
you
so,
know the difference for that?
so when the host is not mentioned, that is like a relative path. Like they don't want to tell you every time the host because it is same. Okay, but when you make the real-time call, host is must, because without host it cannot map where the services are or where the API gateway is.
No, so
And
if we don't mention the host also, the consumer will be able to connect to the Kong, right?
no, it will not. The client always require the host or domain followed by the router path or
No,
the
but
endpoint.
see, like we have only few routes which are having that host name mentioned.
So
In most of
what
the
happens
cases,
is, no, no, you can show
still
me.
the concept.
Okay. So I'll tell you how it happens. So there would be certain configurations which might be hidden to you, and when the call happens, right, it just shows you that relative path only it is taking. But when the call goes inside, right, it will pick the host from certain mechanism, key value pairs or somewhere, right, in the authentication or some secrets it will take, because they don't want to show that domain or host to developers or other people, because it is secure. In those cases it won't show you, so it picks from that key value pairs or from the secrets, and internally it constructs the complete endpoint and then it makes the call.
You are telling about the host of the route configuration only, right?
Yes, yes. Most of the route configuration.
Okay.
You can show me. So if you want to share later on, right, when we will do the real-time practices, right, you show me that,
Mm.
and we
Okay.
will log in and we will see how the configurations are currently and where the gaps are. Then I will explain you in that. But for
Okay.
now, you just know that it is mandatory to have the host, and if it is not mentioned, means somewhere it is hidden, and it picks up that from the key value pairs normally, that we call as secrets. So that secret, every tool will have a different types of secret mechanisms. So whichever cloud you
Mm.
use, it might pick it from the cloud. It may pick from the code repository, or it may pick from the CI/CD. It's from
Mm.
some or other places it will pick that.
Okay.
And the
Fine.
reason
Okay.
is the security, which it does not want to expose, because if you know the host, right, people might try to hack using that host.
Okay.
That is the reason.
Okay. And one more query is the difference between the traditional way of routing. Like there are two modes, right? Traditional compat and the expressions mode.
Uh,
So what is it like? Which one to be followed?
this one, right? Expression and traditional. Regular expressions.
Ah,
So in the traditional, which it says is it is a very simple and straightforward where you mention specifically the entire path of the route. Okay.
okay.
But expression is like you put only few characters or a pattern.
Regular expression. Okay.
Okay. So like
That's a
you
regular
might
expression,
know
right?
about regex and all, right?
Yeah.
So what we do is when my calls are common, okay. So let's say there are 500 different sources from where the call would come. So I don't want to write 500 specific routers for that.
Correct.
So in
Hmm.
that case, I will give a very common characters which is common for all those files, and remaining will be wild characters. So I'll
Got it. Got it.
construct one regular expression so that you
Hmm.
can accommodate all those five different types of calls. But I don't want to make it everything like a star for everything, but still I'm putting some specific characters so that it can validate or filters based on those characters.
Got it. But in this case, like, okay, and one more thing, what we have read is traditional compact is applicable for the 3.0 below versions.
Mhm.
So that is that mean above 3.0, this traditional compact is not applicable. Like, can't we use it?
Yeah,
Like,
I
if we
mean,
if
you
we
can
don't have,
use it, but it is deprecated. They are telling don't use it because later on, in the later versions, it will be stopped. So whenever certain features are deprecated, they say don't
oh,
use it. But if you need it for some urgent reasons or very critical reason, you do it. Still, it will support for maybe another 2 3 version, but afterwards it will not. So let's say this is a strategic product which you are using, which you want to use it for 10 years. Okay, it may
oh,
support you for another 3 years, but afterwards it will not. So
oh.
if you want to upgrade to the latest version, then what will happen is your old scripts will not work.
Yes, yes,
So it is
correct.
better that you
Okay.
migrate right away whenever you see certain features are deprecated.
Okay, and one more thing, deprecated. And one more thing, like in the regular expression, if we add bunch of your path will be applicable only for this particular route, right? If we give regular expression, maybe three, four, maybe five or more than that, request will select this particular route based on the regex. But
Mhm.
in this case, if we want to provide the rate limiting for differently for different paths, because we have given a regular expression, many routes will choose particular route.
Right.
But in this also there will be some cases where, like,
You want to give rate limit for that only specific path, you are saying. That is
only
second
specific
point.
path
So in that
you
case,
have
you
to.
have to build as the specific regular path. You cannot go for expression in that
But there is a possibility that we can have multiple rate limits by providing the exact path, right?
case.
So that we don't have multiple routes. We'll have only one route, but with multiple rate limits. So in
Okay.
the rate limits, it's fine to have the actual path.
Mhm.
So that will work, right?
Yes.
Okay. And also one more thing, like in the rate limit, there is a field called consumer, and that is not a mandatory. So in case if we give the particular consumer, then I'm telling my understanding. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. So there are two rate limits. One rate limit is having a consumer
You
name
want to
called
share?
consumer.
You want to share if you are referring a page or something?
No, no, nothing, no,
Uh,
no pages.
where did you get that point? In this services and routes
So
or
in
in
our
the
form, in the routes.
the routes. Okay.
I mean, like we have this scenario, so I'm having this doubt. That's why.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead. It is
So
not based on some specific content here, right?
no, 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 nothing.
Okay. Go ahead.
So we have a route, and we have let's say like there are three consumers. Okay, consumer one, two, and three are added in the ACL plugin for that particular route, and we have a rate limit for consumer one, and we have another rate limit by not mentioning any consumer. Okay, so in this case, the if the consumer which is mentioned as consumer one will only applicable for the consumer one, consumer
It
one.
is applied for that. So actually,
The
when you have
other
a different consumers or client, right? Now
one.
you can even rate limit based on their IPs. You can restrict that IP address also from where the call is coming.
I see. Okay, that I haven't
So
heard
all those
of.
kind of security rules are available. As
Hmm.
deep you go, based on your security requirement, you can restrict those and apply those.
Okay, my question is, there is another rate limit which doesn't mention any consumer, right? So in this case, whether the rate limit two will be applicable for the other two consumers, whether
In that
that will be a different rate limit.
case, it might be a combined number of calls. So there would be different types of distribution of those calls. It could be coming from the single source. Okay, that is one. It might call from multiple sources combined together. So both
But
possibilities
in
are there.
the rate thing plugin, we don't have a configuration like that, right? We don't have a properties to select
We will
like
see.
that.
There are that some properties should be there,
Okay.
which can distinguish.
Okay. Fine. Okay, I think
Anything else?
Rishita is.
Ishita is back. No.
No, no, not yet. Let me check.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
problem.
hi.
So your call is done now.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks.
So there were few questions which you guys had. I just clarified those to Archana. You might watch the video to see those answers.
Sure, sure. Yeah, we had one doubt while reading it one more time. Okay, once if you clarify to Archana, that's also fine. I'll get in touch with her for that.
I hope both of you had combined all the questions, right? Anything else
Yes, yes.
which you might have, Rishita?
No, no, no. We both no. I mean, we
Combined all.
both used to combine everything. We are yeah, we are.
So you are now very clear about services and routers, right? Routes.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay.
Let's see what is upstreams.
Uh,
Yeah.
uh, are you sharing the screen? All right. I'm not seeing
Okay.
anything.
Let me know when you can see.
Yeah, I
Yes,
can see.
I can.
So here easily you might get confused the difference between upstream and service. Okay. And why it is, see here, you say upstream refers to an API or application or microservice. Same thing we have seen the definition for
Service also, yeah.
service,
Service also.
right? So
Yeah.
that Kong API gateway forwards the request to. Now in the Kong API gateway, upstream object represents a virtual hostname and can be used to health check, circuit break, and load balance incoming requests over multiple services. Okay. So actually, you can think like this that upstream is another layer on top of your services.
Between. Okay. So it will be like a Kong API, then upstream, then services. I
Exactly.
mean, yeah.
Exactly. So calls will go to the upstreams first, and then from there it will load balance and then it will go to the services.
Okay.
So we'll see in detail what else we can extract from this text. Okay, so you can configure a service to point to an upstream instead of a host. Okay, so it's saying instead of directly mapping the service to a host, you can map it to a upstream. Okay,
So
for
it serves the
example,
same purpose, right?
uh,
Services and upstream. Okay, but in upstream there are few other functionality.
function because host name will have just the IP port and all. Okay.
Yeah.
But Upstream is built, you can think it is another program. So it will help you to do some more work on the request which you are sending.
Okay.
The addition to
So one doubt, Manoranjan. So if at all we have to decide like whether we have to go to an upstream or a service, it is purely depends like how it is connecting. If we have multiple services, we have to go with the upstream option only. It is something like that, right?
not mandatory, but it is always good to have because whenever your application would grow, right, then you
Uh-huh.
will feel the requirement of upstream. But when it is a
Okay.
small, your load is less, functionality is less, you won't feel that even it might be required. But if you coding it and architecturing it without it, then what will happen is after a few months or when your business grows, you have to revamp the architecture again. So that will be costly affair again. It is better
Okay.
that from starting only you introduce upstream and make it as a part of your architecture.
Okay. Sure.
So they have given an example. So they're saying consider that there is a service called example dot service. Okay, and there is one upstream example upstream. Okay, now you can point this service to the upstream instead of specifying a host. So saying that instead of you call the host and the host will map to the service, you call the upstream will call the service. The upstream can then point to
One
different
second.
targets.
So here the route will call the upstream, or directly if the channel can call the upstream,
From route, it will come to the upstream.
and then again it will go to the service.
Then it will go to the service.
Yeah.
Okay.
From client to route, it will be same flow only. Instead of directly connecting with service, we are connecting via upstream.
Upstream,
That's it.
yes. And you see here the upstream, why we might need upstream? See, upstream can be pointed to multiple targets or the hosts. Okay. Like here they have given http bean.org, http barn.com, something like that. So it can be various number of targets. And why this is required is, see, the application development and the business is continuously changing. Today, whatever applications and sources and targets or services you see, after 6 months, it will be changed. After 1 year, it will be changed. So previously, what used to happen is when you have, let's say, monolith, you might know about it. Like you had to scrap the complete application and build a new. Okay, but we are coming up with these flexible architectures so that you don't have to scrap everything. You can just keep on enhancing and introduce the new technologies into your architecture. So let's say this http bean.org and http barn.com are the current different targets. Okay. After 5 years, you will have another five new targets that represents completely different client or consumers or different kind of ways of implementations. Okay, so in that case you just need to add those to this architecture or map those to this upstream. You don't have to revamp this path completely. So whatever effort you have put, whatever the older designs, code, and implementations you have, you might not need to scrap everything. With very little or minimal changes, you would be able to adopt the new technologies and new ways of working. So you understand the benefit of upstream?
Yes, Manoranjan.
So this setup allows you to load balance between upstream targets. So when you have multiple targets, you are able to load balance. For example, if an application is deployed across two different servers or upstream targets, Kong gateway needs to load balance across both servers. This is so that if one of the servers like http bin.org in the previous example is unavailable, it automatically detects the problem and routes all traffic to the server http bin.com. When from the client, when traffics are coming into these targets, now one is down means it will the remaining one will go to the other one which is active, and from there it will go to the upstream.
It'll check the health check and then will
It does
route.
the health check in every certain milliseconds or seconds, and then
Hmm.
you have the concepts of circuit breakers and all other things. So those things will work.
Okay.
So you can include the plugins and all. So we learn about the plugins. So that will help you to do the circuit breaking mechanism there to health check, and then accordingly it will load balance all the traffic.
Okay.
Then upstream configuration. So there are three types of. Okay, you can add this upstream to a service in the Kong gateway using these methods. Okay, so one is using Kong manager, admin API, and DK. That's using YML language. So
Okay.
when we go through those topic, we'll learn hands-on.
Sure.
This was about upstream. Let's see what is plugins. Now we'll go through this. Before that, you tell me what is your understanding on plugin. You had been to any development of any code, the Java, C, C++, or any JavaScript,
Um,
XSLT coding we used to do.
XSLT. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is your understanding on plugins?
Plugins basically helps to add extra functionalities like what we have done for the rate limiting for that particular route. Or we can set the upstream timeouts, or we can add the policies. Basically, we can add the ACL policies. So
Mhm.
to do some extra functionalities and adding the policies, or like how to accept a request. What are the things that needs to be checked? That also can be added as a plugin.
So let
Like
me elaborate it
headers.
a little more, right?
Yeah.
This is very important to understand.
It's kind of
So
a post processing and pre processing.
uh, not necessarily, but you can think it is again a set of libraries, okay, which are add-ons to the core functionalities. For example, let's say you have switch off, current switches, right? Then you have plugs, right? Then you have a spike booster. Let's say you have one switch, one plug-in point. Then you introduce to one spike booster there, right? Then you got multiple switches again inside that. You can have single, double, multiple in it, right? So you are introducing more plugs there so that you can take that current through different sources. So one source is distributed into multiple, and it is helping you to achieve other functionalities, other works, multiple works. Okay. Now in programming world, what happens is, let's say you have this Kong API gateway. It has this core code base. Okay. So it is also a software at the end, and it has its own libraries. It has its code base. Okay. And it provides the core functionalities which is required by any application developer or implementing for this API gateway functionalities. Since day by day business requirements are changing, right? There would be a lot of change requests, which we have seen in our previous sections, right? That is why uh, specifically explained about those changes, breaking changes, release versions, and all. Okay. Now there are several ways of doing these changes. One is the company itself, as a part of that core code base, they will develop plugins. And those plugins are nothing but another sets of libraries or codes or different functionalities which can be integrated with any particular version which you are using. When you are using for example, let's say you have bought a new car. Okay. Now you have many accessories added to it to achieve other functionalities. For example, you want a music system. Okay, you can have different types of music systems. You want to add TV, or you want to add network videos, so many other things. You want to add some IoT devices. Those are add-ons to it to achieve some other functionalities. So when you get this API gateway as a particular version, let's say 3.4. Okay. Now, whatever functionalities it has, anyway, you are going to use it. But after few months, you will see it is not matching or it is not meeting your requirement for few cases. So in those cases, you will come back. If you are using enterprise version, you will tell com that support that it is not meeting your requirement. So they will evaluate your requirement. So either they will give a patch for you or make some changes, or if they have certain features already, they will tell you to add those plugins. Similar to that, it has a open source. In the open source versions across the world, the companies or people who are using this gateway, right? They also would be needing some or other functionalities to add or maybe update or edit the existing one itself. So what they do is they will create their own version of those small pieces of code or libraries or scripts, which are also available to be used. And they are reviewed, they are tested, and then only they are launched as for the people to be utilized. So those are called plugins. I'll give you one more simple example to understand it better. Let's say, have you used Eclipse or any code GUI for development? Do you know about
Eclipse has
Eclipse?
Used.
So if you see in Eclipse, you will have a particular version first to install it, and then you run. But afterwards, you can integrate or install many plugins to it to achieve different functionalities. For example, let's say when you first time install, it may not have an editor for a XML that it will open in a XML format that you can traverse through, you can expand, you can minimize, maximize color combinations, and searching the attributes and all. So what you can do is you can add a plugin for XML editor. When you add that plugin, now that feature is available for you. So all the files which you have XML extension, you can open in the XML editor within the Eclipse itself. You don't need a separate editor outside Eclipse. So like that, these all plugins will help you to either fix the issues which you have, or add some new features which you want to achieve, or in future you might be excluding some existing features and take up new features. In that way, these plugins evolve and it helps us to achieve many goals. So I'll pause and I'll wait if you have any question on this. Then I will move on. In general, you understand what is plugin now?
Yes. One question, like if you want to integrate any tool with a Kong, that will do in with the help of plugins or something else.
Normally with the help of plugin.
Okay.
Anything,
Okay.
any tool,
So,
framework, or any infrastructure where you want to
hmm.
install this, API gateway. So everything normally happens through plugin.
So these plugins can be added to all the other things, right? Other objects like services, routes, and
Yeah, so
upstream.
it is not like that. It is like, see, at the end it is a software which is running under certain. Uh, if it is a Java related, then we would say it is running in virtual machine. This software is running. Now, when you add those libraries or plugins, right, it will run in that environment. Now,
Hmm.
to achieve certain functionalities, those library functions or methods are called.
Hmm.
Okay, to achieve those functionalities. For example, it will answer when you go through this. Right, Kong Gateway is a Lua application designed to load and execute Lua or Go modules. Okay, so these are the two languages which is used for Kong Gateway. API Gateway. Okay,
Hmm.
which we commonly refer as plugins. Now, it provides a set of standard Lua plugins that get bundled with Kong Gateway. So there are some standard plugins. Okay, the set of plugins you have access to depend on your installation, whether it is open source or it is an enterprise, or if either of these gateway options running on your Kubernetes. Like independently, if you are running in Kubernetes, then it will have a set of different plugins to integrate with Kubernetes.
Okay.
So those you can think, like for example, if you have a program, inside the program you have 10 methods. Okay, so those 10 methods are a integral part of that program and you are using it, but you want to have a new functions. So for that you are writing one more program. That program can be called from your original program. So the new program becomes a plugin for that. Since you
Okay.
cannot change your original program, what you did is you written a new program and you are allowing to call that new program from your existing program. So people who are calling your program, the original program, right, they won't directly call your program. But through your program, you can call the other program and achieve the functionality. It is a simple term I am telling, but these are basically a bundle of libraries. Okay.
Okay.
Now, custom plugins can also be developed by Kong community and supported and maintained by plugin creators. So, like Kong community is nothing but all the people who are using the open source and they are contributing to this open source. Okay, they support and maintain it also. But here, if you are using if you use this plugin which is developed by Kong community, right? You don't know how long they will support it. So it is depending on the creator who is generating it. So even I can do it, you can do it. So let's say you did one very good plugin and you launched it in their repository. People will see if it meet their requirements and it solves their problem. They will start using it. But you may not guarantee that lifelong you will support it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So at you will give a stable version for it, and if they like it, they will use it. But if there are more fixes are required on that, you may not get a support. But if you are using an enterprise version, then Kong will the company will guarantee that they will support it. So based on your subscription model. So it is
Okay.
very important to understand the difference, and also you have to be very much choosy when you are taking a decision which plugin you need to use. So let's say you are working in a company, you may be there for 1 year, 2 year, or 5 years, right? But company will run more than that. You may leave. So company would like that their employee or their lead should select certain technologies or certain architecture or design, so that even if they leave, they in future it will work. So this decision
Hmm.
is very important.
Okay.
Then why we use plugins provide advanced functionality and extend the use of Congate. That we told that it allows you to add new features and implementation. Right? Plugins can be configured to run in a variety of contexts. Okay? So it is not about just a small feature or specific fixes, but a lot many different varieties of contexts you can use it, and that ranges from a specific route to all upstreams, and can execute actions inside Kong before and after request has been proxied. So you were telling no that pre or post processing. So it is not only pre or post processing, but beyond that you can use it. Okay,
Okay.
so and that can be used in your router level, in upstream level, both, even many more. Okay. As well as on any incoming responses. So once the request is processed and now response is about to be sent to the consumer or client, at that time also you can apply those plugins. So there are many request filters. Same way, there are many response filters also. Before you send the response back to the customer, right? There might be many security related uh, filters which company does, and they do it because in the even there is a some hacking mechanism or somebody unknowingly trying to fetch some data. Let's say it is a banking application, right? Where I have worked in a very big bank like Lloyd's banking group and all, where we used to do the filter for every response also, so that any of the sensitive data should not be published, and they again are configured based on the roles and permissions of the requesters, like what kind of data can be shown to the requester. Then plugin compatibility with deployment types. Kong gateway can be deployed in variety of ways, and not all plugins are fully compatible with each other. Okay, each mode. Okay, so now that we are talking about the plugin for the deployment purposes. Okay, so when you deploy a Kong API gateway in your local system, let's say, you can do it in the cloud. Inside the cloud, again, you can do it in, let's say, virtual machines, or you can do in containerized technologies like Kubernetes and all. So for each and every deployment mechanisms requires some different types of plugins. So today, let's say you have 4 or 5 different ways of infrastructure where you are deploying. Okay. Now, after 5 years or after 10 years, let's say quantum computing became very popular now, and it is very cheap for people to use. Now, whatever computers you see today, right, all will be deprecated and used later on. Okay. Now, people will start to use the new set of computers. Okay. So infrastructure will change and its technology also will change. Now, then what you do? You need a plugin for installing the same set of tools or technologies which you are using today. Now, to accommodate or make it compatible with the new technology or infrastructures in future, you require a new plugin. So, for quantum computing, you require a new plugin now. So, you understand, like, how vast thought process it is, how strategic it is. Right?
Hmm. Is it possible to create our own plugins? Like there will be a inbuilt plugins, right?
Right. There are inbuilt plugins as well as you can create your own plugins. You develop custom plugins. You see here on the website,
Okay.
you have Kong plugins, and then you have custom plugins. You have Kong manager open source. So uh, how you can create your own plugin is using the open source. You can set up the open source, the complete application you can run, and then you can add your code over there. You can test it, and then you can create pull request. It will be reviewed by the community, and if they it will be going through some auditing processes and all. When they see yes, it is a good code and it is really solving the problem, then they will include it into certain particular words.
Okay.
And it is a good thing, like many people become expert, uh, and in fact if you are able to do now, if you can work in certain plugin of your own, then your value as a professional also will increase. You can showcase it in your profile.
But to create this plugin, we should write this Lua code and
Lua or
stuffs.
Go, so there are two options that are given. Without
Hmm.
using these two only you have to do.
Okay. Got it.
The next concept is preference. Okay, precedence. Sorry. So what is precedence?
Yeah, the priority.
Yes. So there is so in the mathematics, you have seen that different types of brackets, right? And
Hmm.
also there are different types of operators, like plus, minus, multiplication, division, right? Module and all. So there in your programming language, you might have learned precedence,
Yes.
right? So what is that precedence? Do you remember? It is basically the order. Okay. So when in a let's say you have 2 plus 3 divided by 4 minus 6 into 7 without any brackets. Now, how do you calculate it? How do you know which operations would happen first? Addition, subtraction, division, or multiplication or module, right? So that time you have to use that information of precedence. So computer as a human, you can think something and you can do it, but in computer it is already programmed, right? Computer should know what is the precedence, and based on that it is to do that calculation. Yeah. Same way, what it's telling is this precedence is required when you have the routes. You have various entities, okay, globally, you will require that. So we will try to know what is it. Okay. It's like a single plugin instance always runs once per request. So let's say you have a plugin, there are a request, so that request will make a call to that plugin, one instance of that plugin, and it will run. That is fine, very simple and straightforward. The configuration with which it runs depends on the entities it has been configured for. Okay, whatever configurations are set, it based on that it will run. That is also fine. Plugins can be configured for various entities, combination of entities, or even globally. Now, first it was about only the request and the instance of the plugin. Then we went for the configuration. There are different types of configurations. Now, is saying again it varies based on the entities and combination of entities, and also globally. Like who calls, how, from where it is called. It is within the company, outside the company, within the internet. Okay, all those parameters now come to picture. This is useful, for example, when you want to configure a plugin certain way for most requests, but make authenticated request behave slightly different. Okay, so what is saying? You have a one plugin. Now that plugin, who can call? How he can call? What are the different functionalities it can call? Right? These all things can be restricted. For example, there is a plugin to do some core configuration change, and it should be allowed only by the admin. Okay, if it is only by the admin, then you have to apply the authentication and authorization mechanism, okay, before that plugin is called. So when you have that particular authorization mechanism, it makes call to that plugin, it will validate, and based on that only it will allow to utilize the functionalities within it. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Now it's saying there is an order of precedence for running these plugins. Okay, so you have a plugin, now you have combination of so many other things, right? Now who can call that plugin first, and who calls second, can call third? So that is the order of precedence. Okay, so further there is this combination given, and that is the order it follows within Kong API gateway. So someone needs to know that order to basically use it accordingly. And also when there is an issue or bug in your system, if you know this order, then only it will be easy for you to fix the problem. Like I told you, that calculation of a plus b, 2 plus 3 into 5 divided by 6 minus something and modulo 2, let's say. Now there are two people have written two different answers. Okay, both are wrong, and the third person, the teacher says that this is the correct answer, right? How do you evaluate? You can evaluate only when you know the precedence. Based on the precedence you can calculate, and then you can say who is right, who is wrong. We will see what is that precedence. The complete order of precedence for plugin configured for multiple entities. So they're saying these 12 options are given here, 12 different combinations, which it follows the order. Okay, so plugins configured on a combination of consumer, route, and service. So here you don't have to like by heart all this. Okay, just you have to understand couple of concept over here. So that whenever you need, you can refer this document back to solve the problem or implement. So here you see.
Manoj,
Uh-huh.
I'm getting a call now. I'll be back. You
Okay,
can continue.
we'll hold for a minute. We'll come back.
Yeah.